Aloha, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to another week of Trauma Recovery University. I'm your host, Athena Moberg. Your amazing co-host and my esteemed colleague, Bobby Parrish, is in the green room right now, and we are so excited to welcome you to another week of live Q&A Monday. Are you in the right place? If you are an adult survivor of childhood sexual abuse and you have questions, then you are in the right place. We show up here every single week and we serve the global community of adult survivors of child abuse, specifically childhood sexual abuse. And every single week we have a topic and we receive questions from you guys every day, and different conversations are going on in our safe groups, and we receive emails and voice messages and on our website, and just all kinds of correspondence from you, the survivor, in search of answers. And this week, since we have a topic every week, this week's topic is our recovery journey and our healing when we have had multiple sexual abusers in childhood. Now, this topic is very painful for a lot of different reasons. First of all, the topic of childhood sexual abuse is not one that is fun to talk about. It's not easy. It's not something that goes over really well at parties. You know, when I go somewhere and I show up at someone's house for dinner or at a wedding or something, and people start asking about the work I do, and I say that I work with adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse, or that I facilitate online safe groups for abuse survivors, it's sort of almost like the record scratches and it's not real popular. But guess what? Bobby Parrish and myself are not ones to shy away from the hard topics, and we believe that we were created to serve this community and to help you find answers and to help your healing journey be less painful and shorter than ours was. So we're healing right alongside you. We're just choosing to do it in public, and we're choosing to answer your questions and heal in community with you guys. And so far, for the last couple years, it's been going pretty well. So this topic is painful. What happens when you have multiple sexual abusers in childhood? How many different situations could there possibly be where that would ever happen? The majority of the people in the world, whether it's in the United States or in the UK or even in other countries, a lot of the, let's just say, leadership in different countries would like to believe that this type of thing doesn't really happen that often. And do we really have to talk about that? Because it's not pretty and shiny and awesome. And we're here to tell you that guess what? It happens. Guess what? We have 3 Twitter chats a week that we participate in and that we help facilitate. And this morning, when we were having one of our chats, I can't even count the number of messages that came across the screen that said, wow, I always thought it was just me. I thought that it was just me. I thought I was all alone. I thought I was the only one that ever experienced this. Oh my goodness. And sadly and gladly, that happens every single week. It's sad that people have felt alone their whole entire lives. They're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, sometimes even in their 70s, and they feel that they've been the only ones that have ever experienced something, and they've kept it silent and hidden for their whole lives until now. And now they go, oh my gosh, there's other people. It's not just me. I'm not the only one. So I'm thankful that that part is happening. And I'm also deeply grieved that they have lived their whole entire lives feeling like they're different and that they're all alone and that it's just them and they're the only ones that ever happened to. So we're here to tell you, you're not alone. You are not alone if you were sexually abused as a child. You are not alone if you were sexually abused as a child in multiple different occasions from multiple different abusers, whether it was because you were living in a family of origin where there was interpersonal family violence, or there was a lot of neglect, or there was substance abuse, or perhaps you were trafficked, perhaps you were exploited, perhaps you were traded from one abuser to the next, to the next, to the next for whatever reason. Perhaps your parents didn't want you. Perhaps they told you they didn't want you. I wish I would have had an abortion. I wish I wouldn't have even had you. It's your fault that we have to live like this with all of these drugs and all of this violence and all of this stuff. If that's you and you've gone through those things and you've struggled with that and you felt dirty and disgusting and ashamed because you've been abused when you were a child, and it wasn't just once, it wasn't just twice, and it wasn't just from one person who happened to just, oops, I'm sorry, I was just mad that day. You make me so angry. If it wasn't just this one time, which by the way, that's never an excuse, and it wasn't your fault, and they don't just get angry and take it out on you and make it okay. Like, it's never your fault. You're a child. But if that's you and you're struggling because you were abused when you were a child, and you were abused in many different ways, and perhaps you were sexually abused more than once or by more than one abuser, then you are not alone. And we're here to have an open conversation, a painful one, but hopefully we'll have some laughs along the way, because guess what? We've lived through enough crap that we get to laugh now, and we get to enjoy our recovery journey and laugh sometimes until we cry sometimes until we laugh, and we get to all do it together, and we get to show up here and answer your questions. So if you have some questions right now, put them down in the comments or tweet them out using hashtag no more shame. And why don't you tag us? I'm at Athena Moberg, and my business partner here is at Bobby L. Parrish. And you can also tag our business Twitter account as well, which is at Trauma Recovery U. And hello, welcome. This is Trauma Recovery University. So this is what we do every week. It's not always as like rawr, me yelling at the camera like I am right now, but I'm pretty fired up right now, because when I got to see so many people this morning, and this is just one of our chats, at so many people this morning who have lived in silence for so many years, and they thought it was just them. It was only them. And they were the only person in the entire world that ever got traded or sold to other people or lent out or told they weren't wanted. It was heartbreaking to see that so many people felt so horrible for so many years and decades. So we are just here to take down the veil. We're here to release and just reduce the stigma, and just open up this forum for you to have this open conversation about what no one really wants to talk about, and that is, what happens if we are sexually abused by multiple abusers? How do we heal? At what point is this even okay? Like, can we heal from this? And what do we do? And how do you Google that? And so we have a comprehensive one page, like we do every single week, for you, the survivor. If you want answers, go and get it, just as a thank you. There's nothing weird. There's no Tupperware. We just want to give you a free gift, and we want you to just go to one of our websites and download it. It's a free printable, and you can download it, you can print it, you can keep it, you can share it, you can do whatever you want, and you can access that for free on one of our websites, either traumarecoveryuniversity.com or nomoreshameproject.com. And you'll see a tab that says downloadables. Just click on the downloadables tab, and right there it'll say healing from multiple sexual abusers in childhood. And just click on that, and it'll take a little bit to load. The page load time is pretty long on those documents, because they're big documents. So I haven't figured out how to make those smaller yet, and I don't think I want to, because they look really pretty when they're all nice and downloaded. So, and especially when you print them, you want them to be nice and clear. So this is a high resolution document for you to keep and download forever, as long as you wish. And that's at traumarecoveryuniversity.com or nomoreshameproject.com. Click on the tab that says downloadables. And if Harriet could maybe just pop up a little link right here for you to click one of our websites, and you can go grab that now for free. And if you are finding us anywhere but on our Roku TV channel or on our YouTube channel, which can be found easily by searching any Roku device or any YouTube, anything on YouTube, just look for Trauma Recovery University and we will pop up. So if you're finding us anywhere but those two places, we would love for you to go find us on those two places. And if you're listening on a podcast platform like iTunes or Stitcher or any of the other podcast listening platforms, we would love to just remind you this is a video broadcast, and it's also live. So these are not edited, and we don't cut out if we curse here or there. or if we are answering people's questions. And so if you are tuning into a replay and you just do not want to listen to all of us talking and answering people's questions on the Twitter feed, then you can go down in the description section of this video right now, all the way down to the bottom, right before the comments, and there will be a little sentence that says, if you're watching a replay and you don't want to listen to us talk for however long, then just click this number and you'll fast forward to the one-page content that we do on a screen share, kind of like a webinar, like a teaching, and you'll just go immediately there. And but also please keep in mind that some of your questions that are super important sometimes get answered during the Q&A portion of this broadcast, which is between now and the time we share the one-page content. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to my business partner, Bobby Parrish. And I just do want to say a very special thank you to you for choosing to spend this hour of your week with us in recovery, wanting to heal, wanting to support others. And I just want to say thank you. We are really just blessed and grateful to have you as a part of our community. And you guys are the reason this community is so healing and powerful. So I'm going to hand this over to Bobby now, and we're going to talk about some super exciting stuff coming up in our community in the month of November, No More Shame November, and just some other exciting things going on. And then we'll be answering your questions. Take it away, Bobby.
Hi, everybody. It's so good to see you tonight. I want to first and foremost issue a trigger warning. This is a broadcast that talks about childhood abuse and specifically about childhood sexual abuse. So use excellent self-care strategies, and if you are triggered, just go ahead and shut things down and you can come back to it later. All of our episodes are recorded and they're up live on iTunes and YouTube, Roku TV. You can come back and watch anything that you've missed. And if you are triggered or you need help urgently right now and you're in the US, we ask you to contact our friends at RAIN. RAIN is the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network, and they have a toll-free crisis line at 1-800-656-HOPE, H-O-P-E. You can also have access their crisis chat on their website, rain.org, RAINN.org. If you're in the UK, you can reach out to the Samaritans, and they have a hotline at 116-123, or you can text them at 0775-909090. You can also email the Samaritans at jo@samaritans.org. If you are in Australia, you can reach your national hotline at 131114. And as soon as we have, I think, Athena, didn't you say that now that we're in more than 100 countries?
Yes, I'm like almost hesitating. I feel like I'm like so far down on the screen here. There we go. I'm hesitating to even, like, I'm pretty sure that that is an accurate statistic. Our analytics say that we're in over 100 countries, and that the watch time, it says like minutes, hours, etc., and it's all for very long, for minutes and hours in over 100 countries. And I know it's silly that I don't want to believe that, but like I thought it was just like 70 something, and then I thought it was like 80, and then all of a sudden it was like 20 more countries, like boom, like overnight. It seemed like overnight. So I guess the short answer is yes, we're in over 100 countries, over 100.
Okay. As we start to get growing communities in different countries, we'll make those crisis numbers available to you, because we want you to be able to know how to access help immediately and when you need it. We often can't predict when we're going to be in crisis or when we're going to need help urgently. So having those numbers at our fingertips often can make a huge difference. So if you're in any of those countries that I talked about, jot those numbers down, or the text numbers, or Joe at the Samaritans email address if you're in the UK, and you will have them when you need them. We also cordially invite you to join us at our first International Trauma Recovery University Live Conference. It will be in Florida, November 11th, 12th, and 13th. You can get all sorts of information about it and register at traumarecoveryuniversitylive.com. We have all sorts of wonderful things planned, amazing speakers, all sorts of art therapy, fun activities, good food, and lots of community. So we encourage you to pop over there and take a look at that and to join us in November. We would love to meet you in person and interact with you and help you walk away from the conference feeling like you have so many more tools and so much more knowledge than you did when you first arrived. So again, Athena announced that we are tonight talking about recovery when you've had multiple abusers in childhood. And it is so much more common than people realize. Upwards of 60% of children who are abused, sexually assaulted before the age of 18, are abused by multiple abusers. And it can be any number of situations. It could be something, for example, you're abused by someone and then that ends, and a couple years later someone else comes into the scene. It could be a matter of you having multiple abusers from the start. You know, several, perhaps, unfortunately, it's not unusual to have two different family members, you know, victimizing one person. And sometimes it's a matter of fact that you were trafficked or exploited and you had multiple abusers in that situation. So like Athena said, it was really amazing this morning to see people show up and say, I can't believe that there's this many people that went through what I went through. And I thought I was the only one. And I thought that made me bad. And a lot of people this morning talked about how having multiple abusers left them feeling like they had some blame in what happened. Like, you know, maybe not the first abuser, but by the time the second one came around, they should have known better. And they didn't. And so therefore, it was partially their fault or totally their fault. And a lot of people this morning were sharing that heavy burden of self-blame and how they felt that what happened to them as a child somehow tainted them forever. And many times those who have had multiple abusers in childhood grow up to have multiple abusers in adulthood. So tonight we want to talk about how some of all of this affects us. And then how do we heal? You know, what's recovery look like for someone who has had multiple abusers in childhood? You know, just 5 minutes ago, you know, August asked on the Twitter feed, can we ever heal? And yeah, you bet. Is it simple and easy? No. Will the abuse and the after effects of the abuse ever be completely absent from your life, gone forever? Probably not.
I don't believe so.
But
I don't believe they will.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you can't have a life where you feel whole and happy and peaceful. That eventually the symptoms of what happened when you were a child will lose their power. And you will feel like you're living the life that you want to live, rather than your abuse having control over your life. So yeah, absolutely. You can heal and it gets better. And if you want to have any kind of a confirmation that it gets better, that's why Athena and I here show up every week. You know, between the two of us, I think we have about 30 years of experience in recovery and some real hard work without the benefit of people coming alongside and giving us much support. And certainly without the benefit of getting any education about trauma and how that had affected us and how the things that we thought were character flaws were actually after effects of the abuse. And they weren't our fault. And they weren't character flaws, and they weren't things that we were just bad at. So yeah, it's possible. And we've done it. And we are not 100%. Like Athena said, we're never going to tell you that we've got all the all the answers, and we've done everything the right way, but we will tell you where we have been and what it looks like and what we think might help you to get through your recovery easier than we did. So I hadn't seen anything on the Twitter stream yet, aside from August's question about, can we heal? Lots of people just showing up tonight and saying hello to each other. One of the most incredible things about our community is that they are very supportive of one another. And so they were just greeting each other and saying hi. And
there's been a lot of support, Bobby. There's been a lot of echoing what it was that you and I had said, which was, will your abuse ever completely go away and the memory of it just be vanished and you're just, back to normal, as everybody says? There's a lot of commentary on that particular question, and the basic consensus is probably not, but we're here to support, and we can experience joy in our daily lives.
Yep.
We can live a full and happy life in spite of what happened in our childhood, and it doesn't have to rob us of all of our future joy. Even though recovery is painful, it doesn't mean that it is going to delete every chance of us experiencing joy and fulfillment in our lives moving forward. And that's sort of the consensus on the Twitter stream. There was Katie says, I often wonder if my childhood sexual abuse is the reason I was more vulnerable and I was an easy target for other abusers. I would love to hear you talk about that a little bit, Bobby, because there was a little bit of that going on this morning during our Twitter chat. So do you want to comment on that for Katie?
You bet. People were asking this morning and were saying the same thing, that they had wondered whether or not their initial abuse had somehow done something to them that made them attract other abusers. And in some ways, I think that because abuse affects our self-esteem and our capacity to put up boundaries, that when we meet predators after we have been abused, that sometimes we don't have the best boundaries and we don't have the best opinion of ourselves, and that can make us vulnerable to abusers. And there are predators out there that just look for people who have a self-esteem that is low, who have, very porous boundaries, easily crossed, rarely put up boundaries. And it's a hard thing to say, but yeah, I think that being abused and not having the chance, and unfortunately many of us didn't get this chance in childhood. It wasn't as if we got abused and then right after that we got the help and the advice and the expertise that we needed. Most of us didn't, because we didn't either say anything about our abuse, or we did and we were told that we were a liar, or we needed to just sit down and shut up, or that it was our fault. And so most of us did not get that immediate help that we needed, that would have arrested the plummet of our self-esteem and that would have helped us keep our boundaries intact. And so yeah, there's that first episode of abuse, and then when we encounter another predator, they can perceive us as easy prey. And that is one of the reasons why people who are sexually abused or just abused in childhood are notoriously abused again in adulthood.
Hey, Bobby. Grace wanted to know the definition of an abuser. She actually worded it in such a way that she was being very minimizing towards herself, and I told her that it was not a wrong question to ask, that we automatically presuppose that everybody knows what an abuser is, and let's not presuppose anything. She says, I know this is probably a dumb question, which it's not, and there are no dumb questions. You're amazing for being here even. You're amazing. She says, but is an abuser a person who abuses you more than one time? And I think the answer is yes and no. I think, yes, an abuser is someone who abuses a person more than one time. But an abuser can also be someone who abused you once, and there's a likelihood that you were not the only person they abused. I'm not making everybody in the whole wide world guilty, saying that they abused one person, they abused many. But Bobby, I would love to hear your comments on this, because I think the answer is yes and no. Like, they can abuse you only once, but that still makes them an abuser, because they abused you. But it's not only someone who abuses you more than once. Even if you were abused one time, it still counts, it still matters, and it still affects the frontal lobe of your brain, which is where all your decisions are made, and like how you figure out how to schedule your day and multitask and like fight, flight, freeze. What do I do? I mean, there's so much going on your HPA axis. And I want Bobby to go ahead and address this particular question. Is an abuser a person who abuses you more than one time? And go ahead and break it down, Bobby.
An abuser is someone who abuses anyone, even once. Is that the legal definition? Probably not. But for the cases of what we talk about and what we share, an abuser is someone who abuses someone else. Just once qualifies. And you were abused if you were only sexually assaulted, only being a horrible term, once. You were abused. And like Athena said, as survivors, we're taught to minimize what happened to us. And I can't tell you how many times I've had survivors say to me, well, it really wasn't that bad because, it wasn't actually rape. I was just touched. But you know what? There's no such thing as just a little bit of child sexual abuse. Child sexual abuse is child sexual abuse. Abuse is abuse. So we hate to invite you into our club, but you're still a member. And, we're happy to support you and stand with you in whatever that you might need. So in my book and in the work that I do, someone is an abuser after just abusing one person one time. So it might not stand up in a court of law, but it stands up in my work.
I would agree. I would definitely agree. And I wanted to, let me just add the hashtag here to Kalisha. Kalisha says, oh no, I'm missing chat. I waited 2 weeks for this topic. Kalisha, we love you. It's okay. You're going to get the replay and it's all good, girl. It's all good. We love you. Okay, so I'm going to pause on Twitter and I just want to talk to you guys. So this morning, touching on what Grace Hope just asked about, is an abuser someone who abuses us more than once, et cetera, et cetera. I was, this morning during chat, there were so many questions coming in on the Twitter stream, and so many, oh my gosh, I felt that way also. Oh my goodness, me too, me too, me too. I thought it was just me. The things that stuck out the most to me this morning, Bobby, were the instances when we have lived our lives in a state of confusion and misinformation and misinterpretation because of our grooming and gaslighting. And we have, Harriet, if you could please pop up the thumbnails here and here or somewhere on this area of the screen for our videos on gaslighting and grooming. You guys, if you're new to this channel, we preach the gospel of boundaries like it's like you just are so sick of hearing the word boundaries, because without healthy interpersonal boundaries, you will continue to be re-victimized throughout your entire life. But there are two other things that are constants, And those are, you were groomed and you were gaslit. If you lived in an environment of abuse when you were a child, it is likely that you were groomed by your abuser, unless you were snuck up upon and assaulted, and then that was it. Like, the grooming is the act of someone earning your trust, meeting a need, and hanging out, and then taking advantage of you and abusing you. That's grooming. I think that's a good simplified way to say what grooming is. Bobby, would you say?
Yes, yeah. It's manipulation, brainwashing.
Yeah,
yep.
And gaslighting goes hand in hand. Gaslighting is basically it's basically psychological warfare is what it is. You are led to believe over and over and over again that this is true, but this isn't true. But how could this be true if this is true? And you ask a question, oh, that you could never have been abused on that day. Don't you remember we were at Janet's that day? But, you can get abused on one day and then be at Aunt Janet's that day also. Like, the two don't conflict. They actually can happen on the same day. I just had this conversation with a dear friend today. Like, gaslighting is like me saying, oh, well, don't you remember we sat and we talked for a couple hours that day? Athena, that could have never happened. I had a flight to catch to Portland. Don't you remember? We could never have had that conversation. I had a flight to catch. It's like, no, they both can coexist. So you ask a question, hey, I'm remembering this about so-and-so, and did so-and-so ever touch you like this? Or did this ever happen when you visited Uncle so-and-so? Or, I tried to tell, Aunt so-and-so that this happened, and did that ever happen to you? I don't know what you're talking about. Like, are you sure that really happened? Like, are you sure you're not just like making things up, or like, you have like false memory syndrome, or like, who told you to think those things? Was it your therapist? Did your therapist suggest those things to you and cause you to like make up these weird false memories? And I forget the statistic about like the percentage of false memories that actually happen, but it's very, 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 very low. When a child gains the courage to actually disclose their abuse, the percentage of times that they're actually falsely reporting is, Bobby, wasn't it somewhere between 2 and 6%?
4 and 8. You're real close. 4 and 8.
Yeah, between 4 and 8%. So, hello, yes. It's low. So, what stuck out to me the most this morning is how long so many of us have cruised through life with misinformation and with a misunderstanding of what really went on, and we doubt ourselves. And then on top of all of that, this was the kicker. So many of us, not only did we blame ourselves for the abuse, we honestly thought that there was something wrong with us. We were born wrong. We were born evil. Something in us caused other people to want to abuse us. In fact, it goes farther than that. So many people actually believed, and I am one of these people, since I was told from a very young age that I wasn't wanted, I was supposed to be aborted, I was given away to all these different family members because my family was too busy doing other things like drugs and like getting a job at this place and that place and like marrying this person and that person. And there was just all kinds of stuff going on. It was very busy, very, very busy. And so since all of that was going on, and the only common denominator of my abuse with this person, this person, this person, this person, this person, and this person, the only common denominator was me. So deductive reasoning would dictate that if I'm the only common denominator, I must be bad. I must be causing this abuse. It's something I'm doing.
Yes, I see that so often.
I mean, Bobby, almost all of my clients at one moment or another confide in me and tell me deep down they really believe that the abuse was their fault, that they caused it. They could have stopped it. They caused it. Something must be wrong with them. They must be bad. They must be damaged. I mean, after all, they did go off the deep end when they were in their teens and they decided to drink. And when they were in their 20s, they experimented with drugs. And then they went off and, they dated this boy and that boy and ended up getting married. And now they're divorced. And like, it's, only losers get divorced and this and that. So it must be me. Like almost every single one of my clients, all these beautiful, amazing, wonderful, strong, capable, strong women and a few very brave, incredible men all believe at one point or another that it's them. It's not their abuser. It's not their multiple abusers that decided to take advantage of them. They actually believe it's them and that they were born wrong and they were born evil. There's something evil in them that causes other people to need to abuse them. And I want to tell you right now that that's a lie. If that's you and you feel that way and you've wondered and you've had this little niggling for years thinking that it must have been your fault, and that since it happened so many times from so many different people, that must be all you're good for. And it must be your fault. There must be something in you that causes other people the need to abuse. I need to tell you that that is a lie. It is a lie. It is not true. It couldn't be farther from the truth. You are an amazing, strong soul who deserves to heal. The fact that you're even here on this channel wanting to learn and wanting to gather knowledge and to heal from the pain of what you've gone through, you are amazingly capable and powerful, more than you even understand, and it wasn't your fault. And I need you to know that. Like, need you to know that, because it will change and shift the entire journey of your recovery and the way you approach yourself. When you have this deep knowing that you didn't deserve it. It wasn't your fault. You are not flawed. You were not born wrong. You are not evil, deserving of punishment. It was not you. It was a bunch of different people with a bunch of different flawed thinking and just twisted ways of expressing and a deep need for power over other people and manipulation. And it's sick. It's really sick, and it's not you. And I just need you to know that. Bobby, I'm on a little bit of a rant, and I feel like I'm rambling, and I'm sorry, but maybe you could just take it or agree with me or give me your comments on that, because it breaks my heart how many people thought that they thought all the same thoughts I thought. And now I know they're not true. Like, I didn't know they weren't true. Can you comment on that?
I think it's a very, very rare victim of childhood sexual abuse who doesn't accept some responsibility for what happened, doesn't blame themselves. And when you have multiple abusers, that self-blame only escalates exponentially rather than in a linear way. And it's something that we determine on our own due to the cognitive dissonance. We've done a video about that. And our grooming, it's something that we're taught. We're taught that it's our fault, that, we were seductive. We caused our abuser to do what they did to us. But those are lies. And it's not our fault. I understand why we chose to believe that it was our fault, because we were trying with our child's mind to make sense of what was happening. But the reality is that it's not your fault. There is nothing a child can do that deserves being abused, that the appropriate response is to abuse them. The punishment for any mischief that a child gets into is never justifiably abuse or childhood sexual abuse. Never. So if that's you and you feel like you did something wrong that caused what happened to you, especially because you had multiple abusers, I want you to hear that that's not true. That's a lie. That's a lie that your abusers wanted you to believe. And that's something perhaps that you told yourself to help you understand what was going on. But now, as an adult, you can learn to see it differently. And when you do, you will be free in a way that you never have before. So we're going to talk some more about self-blame when we look at the 1 page. But that is a huge, huge, huge issue for people who had multiple abusers. Even those who perhaps had one abuser in childhood and then multiple abusers in adulthood. Tonight we're talking primarily about those who had multiple abusers in childhood. But if you had, even if you had just one abuser in childhood and then multiple as an adult, self-blame is still a huge issue. And it can change. It takes some work, and you got to talk to yourself differently, and you have to process things differently, and you have to confront that pain of what happened when you were a child. But it can change. So, Athena, is there anything that you think we can catch up with on the Twitter stream before we look at the 1 page?
Someone had just, Simi was just telling Maggie how much we love her and that she's a superhero, and I drew a little person with a cape going like this, with a cape saying Super Maggie. That's as far as I got. I haven't gotten Super Maggie, but so I haven't gotten any more, as far as any more questions. I was just telling Maggie that she was a superhero.
That's awesome, because Maggie, you are a superhero.
She certainly is.
She certainly is.
And tonight, folks, I know that we are, this is such a loaded topic. How to heal in recovery from being abused by multiple abusers in childhood is something that's very complex. It's as if abuse recovery were simple. It's not. It's not simple, and it's not linear. But when you have multiple abusers, there are so many different layers to the healing that it makes it even more complex and more difficult to heal, because you have memories coming at you, not only from one person, but from many. And so it can feel a bit like trying to juggle bowling pins and spin saucers and rub your belly and pat your head and like try to do everything at once. And it's so complex. And so we really just want to encourage you to practice excellent self-care. We have a very comprehensive 1 page for you tonight, which will break down the different instances when people can be examples of how and when people can be abused by multiple abusers and what those situations look like, what circumstances could have taken place. And then also, of course, as always on our 1 page, some tips and strategies that are practical that you can sort of implement into your life right now so that you can feel better today and not 25 years from now, like after therapy or something. So we would love for you to send us your questions. Please just know you're not alone. We need you to know you're not alone. That is like the underscore, the undercurrent under the undercurrent. It's just the overarching feeling that we want you to know about right now, is just for you to get a feeling and a sense of knowing that you're not alone. It wasn't just you. You're not the only person that was abused by multiple abusers, and you're tainted and damaged and disgusting and gross. And it's not like that. You didn't sexually abuse yourself, and you didn't cause it on yourself. We know that after we're abused by 1, 2, 3, 4, and all kinds of different, lots of many people, that we can, in our adult mind, logically come to, through deductive reasoning, the outcome would be, well, I could have stopped it, and it must have been my fault. If I didn't like it, I would have said, hey, like, let's not do this abuse thing. But that's our adult mind trying to rationalize something that happened in childhood. And our child's mind just can't do that. Our child's mind needs to go, what can I possibly do to make this stop? Oh, okay, I'll be really quiet. I'll be perfect. I'll be nice. I'll be everything to everyone. I'll do the dishes better. I'll vacuum better. I'll be nicer. I'll be quiet. I'll be mean. I'll be loud. I'll be quiet. I mean, you try to do as many different things as you know how to do as a child. So I just want to welcome you to ask as many questions as you need to ask. Put some questions in the comments if you have questions in the comments. If this video has helped you just to know even just a little bit that you're not alone, can you please just give it a thumbs up, share it with someone you love, tell somebody about our channel, whatever, subscribe to our channel. But don't forget the one page, because even if all these questions and all of this interaction and everything isn't helpful for you, maybe just glancing at a comprehensive one-page resource that goes boom, 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 this is what it is, this is how you feel better, maybe that will help you. And you can just go to one of our websites for free, traumarecoveryuniversity.com, nomoreshameproject.com, click on downloadables, and you can keep that and just keep it, or share it with your, we have therapists that actually share our resources with their clients, and we have like people that have support groups, and they share our resources with their support groups. And so share that with whoever you think it might help. And Bobby, I'm totally wide open if you wanted to go jump over to the one page, unless there are some more questions that we should be answering right now.
People were just giving some examples of the lies that they were told as children for why the abuse was their fault.
Ooh, okay.
It never fails to amaze me, the crock of lies that an abuser can come up with to explain why they did what they did and to make it quote unquote okay. You know, and Grace was saying, you know, but this is what I was told. And you know what, you did nothing wrong believing what you were told. You were a child. Of course you're going to believe what's told to you about those things, particularly when you were younger, when the abuse started. There's nothing wrong with the fact that you believed that. But, you know, now as an adult, you can learn differently. But don't beat yourself up for believing what you were told as a child. That doesn't make you wrong or bad or deserving of being hurt. It makes you a child who is dependent upon their caregivers, which, guess what, that's all of us. We all qualify. So I really hope, Grace, that you don't feel badly that you chose to believe that.
Simi said the same thing. Simi said, I tried so hard to be good, but I knew somehow that I was just bad. No matter what I did, I was just bad. No, you weren't. No, you weren't. Bobby, everybody thinks this. What do we do? Everybody, we all thought this, but we know now that it's not true. We weren't bad.
I think that's a process, you know, as we support one another by letting each other know that we're not bad. We learned those things. We learned that lie over a course of time. We don't unlearn that lie at the snap of a finger. It takes time. It takes practice. It takes self-talk. It takes treating ourselves like we're good and lovable. It takes being compassionate to ourselves over a period of time, and then we will undo that lie. But it's so common. And if you haven't watched the video that we've done yet about cognitive dissonance, go back and watch that video, because it will explain to you why a child chooses to believe that they're bad.
Cognitive dissonance, Harriet.
Yeah. Even if you weren't told that by your abuser, chances are high that you would make the active choice to believe that in order to sort through that cognitive dissonance that child abuse causes. It's so common, but it's also completely untrue. And we can learn a new way to do it. It's not simple. It's not easy, but we can do it with time and support. And that's one of the things that Athena and I hope to be able to provide you with, is as much support as you need to do what you need to do to be free of that lie. So I'm going to go ahead and move over to the one page. Again, these are available on our website, nomoreshameproject.com. There's a tab that says downloadables. Just go ahead and click on that, and you will be taken to the section of our website where all of our one pages live. And the newest one pages are at the top, and the oldest are at the bottom. You're welcome to print any one of them off, all of them off, keep them in a binder, and make use of them when you need them. And this one talks about the statistics that we talked about earlier. Every year, millions of children around the world are sexually abused. The Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network, RAINN, reports 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be or has been sexually assaulted before their 18th birthday. But a statistic that is rarely reported or even acknowledged is that approximately 60% of those children will have multiple sexual abusers, which is abbreviated with the acronym MSA, as documented by the National Institute of Health in the United States. And there are a variety of scenarios in which a child could have multiple abusers. You could have 2 entirely separate periods of abuse by different abusers. Your primary abuser can sell or loan out or traffic you to other abusers. Or the child could be a victim of sexual exploitation and trafficking, where they are, quote unquote, owned by a particular group or by a particular person, and they are trafficked and prostituted and end up having countless abusers. Those who had MSA as children often have a greater sense of self-blame about their abuse. Because the abuse happened with multiple individuals, they may feel they are bad and or doing something wrong, which causes the abuse to occur. Or they are evil by their very nature and call forth the abuse that happens to them. These children often feel like they are good for nothing other than sexual exploitation, given how often it has happened in their lives. Their hopelessness and despair can be profound. They are also likely to dismiss sexual assault in their teen years and adulthood as abusive because they feel they are to blame for causing the assault. Children with MSA are also at greater risk of experiencing other types of abuse during their childhood, such as emotional, verbal, and physical abuse, as well as neglect. This is because the majority of children with MSA are raised in homes with family violence and substance abuse. They suffer through trauma after trauma after trauma, all of them compounding on top of one another to create a fierce stack of abuse, which needs to be processed during recovery. For this reason, and due to the fact that there were multiple sexual abusers, these children and adults often have a more complicated recovery process than those with a single abuser. The layers of trauma are deeper, and their interconnections with one another are complex as we try to tease them apart and look at that in the ways that we need to understand it. Complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which is often called CPTSD, is much more likely for those with multiple sexual abusers than classic PTSD. You know, Athena and I often talk about how child abuse causes a messy mishmash of spaghetti noodles and baklava. You know, it's layered, but it's also tangled. And for those who have had multiple sexual abusers, it is particularly complicated, particularly complex, and teasing apart the various layers so you even figure out what you need to heal can be very, very difficult. And again, as Athena said, we always try to offer you tips and strategies for coping. Healing from childhood sexual abuse is a very painful process, and we need answers that can give us some results today. And we try to do that with each episode and on our one page. So if you've had multiple sexual abusers as a child, here are some coping strategies that may be helpful. And the first one is to tackle your self-blame as a primary core issue in recovery. Self-blame needs to be one of the number one goals in your treatment plan with your helping professionals, with the team of helping professionals that you work with. Allow yourself to acknowledge subsequent abuse as assault rather than something you caused to happen or deserved to have had happen. I had one abuser up until about the time that I was 14 years old. And then I had multiple episodes of being sexually assaulted. But I never let myself see them as sexual assault. I saw them as bad things that I let happen to me because I wasn't good enough. And it's so important that when we go through our healing journey, that we allow ourselves to accept the fact that any assault on us was not only abusive, but not our fault. Absolutely not our fault. The third thing you need to do is to explore complex PTSD as a possible diagnosis. Athena and I have done a couple of videos on complex post-traumatic stress disorder. One of them is comparing complex post-traumatic stress disorder to classic post-traumatic stress disorder, and the other is just solely focused on complex PTSD. So I encourage you to look for those videos on the channel. And if you're in the section of one pages now, go ahead and pull those up and print those off. For those who have multiple sexual abusers, seeking help from trauma-informed helping professionals is so important. So important. I know that not all of us have that option. It seems like there are not enough trauma-informed helping professionals to go around. Perhaps you live in a rural area or in a location where there aren't any. But if you can find them, they will be so helpful to you as a victim with multiple sexual abusers. And then seek a variety of treatment modalities. With trauma that is complex, one type of recovery tool is rarely sufficient. Use art, writing, and other expressive therapies, along with cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavior therapy. Know that you are not alone, and that thousands of survivors with multiple sexual abusers will build a life they love every day through recovery. And then get plugged into community. Connection, safe, non-judgmental connection is so important to recovery. And it seems to me like every day that I go through the literature and read the research, it shows that more and more. That connection with others, non-judgmental, safe connection with others is powerfully healing in our recovery. Sometimes, more powerful than the talk therapy that you might do. Having that connection with someone who sees us and gets us and accepts us.
And believes us.
Exactly, it's vital. And Athena and I have said it over and over again. and we'll probably keep saying it over and over again. So there we go. That's the one page for this week. Next week, Athena, do you think you're going to be doing a video next week? Next week, I'm on vacation.
Yeah, I think I am going to do a video.
Okay.
Do you want to tell everybody what the topic? You tell everybody what the topic is.
How not to minimize ourselves and our experience as survivors of childhood abuse, because we can be very, very good at that. And so come back next week, and Athena's going to help you walk through the process of learning how not to minimize what happened to you and the effects, the after effects of what happened to you.
We do minimize a lot as survivors, you guys. And then when we make some progress in our recovery, we love to say, oh, I'm just lucky, you know, whatever. Oh, it wasn't that bad. Or, yeah, I have bad days too. Or just we minimize, not only do we minimize the abuse that we incurred as children and take responsibility for our abuse so that nobody else has to, because we wouldn't want to be labeled someone who likes to blame other people. And so we just take on all the responsibility. We're responsibility takers. And then where we stop being responsibility takers and we start being minimizers is when we actually start recovering, and we have some stuff to be proud of because we've made it pretty far in our recovery journey. And then we go, oh, I haven't made that much progress. I mean, am I right, Bobby?
Yes, yes, yes. It's very hard for us to see our progress. It's very hard.
It's hard for us to see our progress, and other people will notice how far we've come, and they will tell us, and we won't even realize that it's noticeable. We'll hear things like, I've just noticed lately that you're just so different. Like, you seem more light or free or not so distracted, or you seem stronger, or you seem more powerful or more confident. Your writing is different. You're showing up in the world differently. You walk into the room differently. You're different in that relationship. You know what? You didn't put up with that person's abusive language and the way they were bullying you, the way you have always put up with it. You actually stood up for yourself. Like, way to go. I'm really proud of you. You'll hear things like that, and then you'll find 12 ways to minimize it as though it's no big deal. And I'm here to tell you it's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's a big deal that you're healing. It's a big deal that you're not putting up with people abusing you, and you're actually feeling more confident. It's a big deal that you're asserting yourself. It's a big deal that you are taking care of yourself. You're allowing yourself some self-care. You are being kind to yourself. You are bowing out of situations when you would really rather not go do something. You're actually honoring yourself and saying, no, thank you. Those are big deals. And we minimize those things. So we're going to put together a one page, and I'm going to teach on it. And Bobby is going to be off on vacation enjoying herself. And next week's topic, we'll also have the 3 chats. So we'll have CSAQT Monday mornings, 7 a.m. Hawaii time, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And then we'll have this one, hashtag no more shame, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, 2 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time on Tuesday mornings for those of our UK peeps who can't sleep. And then Sex Abuse Chat, the original Sex Abuse Chat with Rachel Thompson, Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, all on the topic next week of how to not minimize our abuse and our recovery from abuse. How to not minimize our situation.
Yes, and ourselves.
Yeah,
not
we
minimize
do
who we are.
We do that, don't we?
Yep, we do.
Oh
do
boy,
that.
we do. Yeah, we we're gonna talk for a full hour about how to not do that, and I'll be here answering your guys' questions like normal. I'll probably show up, answer a couple questions, teach, and just try to follow the same format that we normally do when Bobby is here with me, when we're here together with you guys hanging out. So if anything changes, I'll be sure to let you guys know. I'll give you some notice. Otherwise, as of right now, as far as I can tell, as far as I can foresee, we'll just keep the same schedule, and we will be tweeting out Bobby's name and wishing her happy vacation, Juju, happy vacation prayers all the way from wherever we are in the world. And she'll log back onto Twitter a week later and go, oh my goodness, 180 notifications, what? It'll just be in love, Bobby. We'll just be sending you some love.
I know. It's interesting. I know we need to move on and close things up, but Dominique just raised an important question, an important statement. My abuser groomed me to be a weapon against myself. Am I included as being an abuser of myself?
Ooh, interesting question.
No, not even. You were groomed, and you're doing the things that you were taught to do as a groomed victim of childhood abuse. You're not an abuser, not of yourself and not of anybody else. So I wanted to point that one out and dispel that for you, Dominique. So
yeah, they're very, Bobby, a really practical, I know we need to move on, but this is a question, and this is Q&A Monday. A practical example of that, Bobby, is a form of self-harm is eating disorders. Right. And a byproduct and gift with purchase, when it's a wonderful parting gift that we get when we're abused. I say that tongue in cheek. It's definitely not a fun gift, and abuse is not a gift. But what we get as a byproduct of our abuse is a whole load of self-loathing and self-hatred, and our bodies are only good for abuse. That's what we somehow figure out. And then the reality of that is too painful to realize, and so we either overeat or undereat. We control our food intake, since every other part of our life is out of control. So we control our food, or we control our exercise, whether it's anorexia nervosa, or it's bulimia, or it's binge eating disorder. And then even more on top of that, if you were shamed verbally and otherwise by your abusers about your body, like your shape of your body, or even if you were told, ooh, your legs are so pretty, or look at your pretty little breasts, or like whatever it is that was said to you, you can also develop a body image disorder, which is not the same as an eating disorder at all. It's in the same sort of family. It's kind of like a cousin, but it's not the same, and it's called body dysmorphia. And there's a gentleman named Brian Cuban who wrote a book called Shattered Image. Really great book on body dysmorphia. But what I was getting at, Dominique, was one of the ways we abuse our bodies is by overeating, undereating, overexercise. We damage our bodies. Whether I was anorexic and bulimic, and I live with body dysmorphia. So I controlled my eating. I reduced my calories down to like 700 or 800 a day, sometimes even less. Some days I would go without eating, but if I did eat, I didn't have the courage to throw up like all the other girls. I went the easy way out and I popped laxatives because I didn't want to ruin my teeth, because I was afraid that my family, who said that they spent thousands of dollars on my mouth and sending me to the dentist, which I ended up finding out that my dentist was a total pedophile, I believe, who hung out at Chuck E. Cheese. I was afraid that they would get mad at me for ruining my teeth, so I took the easy way out, in air quotes, and I popped laxatives, which is another form of bulimia. And then on top of that, I would over-exercise, so I was withholding calories. I was eliminating with with tons. I wouldn't eat without taking laxatives. I was ruining my body, killing my body from the inside out. And then I was over exercising. And the more people told me that I looked skinny, the more I would do it. Because I was told my whole life that I was fat, or I was this, or I have fat knees, or I have chubby feet, or I had chubby legs, or I was curvy, or do you want some fries with that shake, or I had a J-Lo booty, or I mean, I got all the jokes. Like, it was just horrible. I did not want to be curvy. I've been curvy since I was 7. So, yeah, that's one way we abuse our bodies, and I do not consider myself an abuser. So, wrapping that up and tying a bow on it, Dominique, I did abuse my body, and I was very abusive in my body, but I was not an abuser of my own body. Like, I'm not an abuser because I abused my body. It was a byproduct of my abuse. It was something that came with my abuse. Wrong thinking, and just the need to control something. And I'm better now. I mean, I want to say I'm like in remission or in recovery or whatever you want to call it, but I don't over exercise anymore. I'm very mindful to eat healthy. I don't take laxatives anymore. But I did damage my body pretty bad. My body is still healing from the laxatives that I took in my 20s, and that's 20 years later. So, yeah, I wouldn't consider myself an abuser because of that. No. I did raise my voice, and raged out on my poor son before I got help and realized that I was abused as a child, and that I didn't live a perfect life like I thought I did. Like, I was told that I should just be grateful, and I lived such a perfect life. I didn't know how good I had it, but I learned that I was abused and that I had displaced anger, and I was raging out at my child. So that makes me an abuser. I was abusive toward my son while I was raging out on him. And then I realized that I was raging out and being abusive, and I got help. So I think that I was an abuser, but I'm not an abuser anymore, but not because I was abusing my body. Does that make sense, Bobby?
It does. It does. They are not the same thing.
No.
Nope.
It's a sticky wicket, as you say, Bobby.
Sticky wicket.
August, I should be thankful it wasn't worse. Yes, I got told all the time, you should just be grateful. You should just be grateful. You didn't live through what I lived through. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, I might not have lived what you lived through, but I can remember all the stuff I lived through, and I'm not grateful. So no, I should not just be grateful.
No.
Bobby, did you want to say anything to all of our wonderful peeps? You're not going to see everybody for 2 weeks.
I know. Well, yeah.
So maybe you want to say anything to everybody before we transition into welcoming people really quick?
I hope you guys have an excellent week. I certainly plan on having an excellent week and going on vacation, and I will see you again in a couple of weeks right back here. I don't think Athena and I have picked a topic, but 2 weeks from today I'll be back, but I'll be sending all sorts of energy and love to Athena next week, and to all of you as you process through the topic of minimization.
Yeah, thank you, Bobby.
You're welcome.
Well, you guys, thank you so much for being here. All of our friends that are always here every week. You guys are amazing. As always, we just want to let everybody else know there's no weird multi-level marketing pyramid scheme like drink the Kool-Aid, or we're going to send you like stuff in the mail. We're all just a community of people that were abused as children, and we're choosing to heal together. So if you want to join us, there's no pressure. Take what you like and then leave the rest. But if you decide one day that you want to heal with other people, because it does greatly reduce our shame when we tell at least one other person and they believe us. And we heal at an exponential rate when we are in safe community with others. So if that is you and you would like to heal in safe community, either stick around for the next 10 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes max, and we will let you know some easy ways that you can get in touch with us. or just come back another time, and we're really grateful that you were here with us. Bobby has some really simple, easy screen shares that we're going to pop up right now, and then you can see how to connect with us. And thanks for sticking around. This is a really hard topic. It is never easy talking about childhood abuse, never easy talking about childhood sexual abuse, and it is all the more difficult and painful to talk about childhood abuse and childhood sexual abuse when it comes at you from multiple different abusers during childhood. So thank you for sticking around for this very tough topic. It's been a very rough 60 to 75 minutes, and we're really grateful that you stuck it out. So thanks for being here, you guys, and we're going to go ahead and welcome all the new people in now, and we'll see you next week on the topic of minimization.
Okay, let's look at ways that you can connect with Athena and I. You can contact, wow, that was really big. Woo! We do our best to reply within 48 hours. Sometimes we can't. We're getting there. We're bringing more people on board, getting more volunteers. If you would like to reach out to us via email, you can reach me at bobbylparish@gmail.com. Athena is at athenamobergspeaking@gmail.com. And we have our joint email, which is nomoreshameproject@gmail.com. On Twitter, I am Bobby L. Parrish. Athena is Athena Moberg. And Trauma Recovery University is Trauma Recovery U. On Facebook, you can find our joint business page at Trauma Recovery University. My business page is Bobby Parrish Coaching and Consulting. My personal page is Bobby Parrish. Athena's professional page is Athena Moberg Speaking, and her personal page is Dawn Athena Moberg. You can also find us on YouTube, Roku TV, and Google Plus by just doing a search for Trauma Recovery University, and all of our videos should pop right up for you. Anytime, 24/7, 365, you can go to bit.ly/Trauma Recovery U, those capitals do matter, and see all of our videos and find all sorts of information and resources about trauma recovery and how you can not only get plugged in to safe community, but get help and tackle the things that you feel like you need to do in order to have that happy whole life. So let's look at now the different resources that we offer and how you can take advantage of those. As I push all my buttons here. Nope, that one. Okay. Oh, wow, too big. We have 3 Twitter chats every week, and we have a handful of Facebook support groups. You are welcome to have access to any of these. They're free. They always will be free. As Athena mentioned earlier, our first Twitter chat is Monday, and the hashtag for that is CSAQT, which stands for Childhood Sexual Abuse Question Time. It is at 10 a.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time in the UK. Then the next Twitter chat is on Monday evening in the US. If you're watching us live right now, you're participating in it. It's interactive video and Twitter chat. The hashtag is No More Shame. It is at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern, 2 o'clock in the morning, Tuesday for the UK. Tuesday evening is the third and final Twitter chat of the week. That's with Rachel Thompson and myself. The hashtag is Sex Abuse Chat. It is at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern, and Wednesday at 2 o'clock in the morning in the UK. If you would like to join one of our Facebook support groups, we ask that you follow this simple 4-step process because using another kind of format or method is simply not as easy, and it takes us longer to get back to you to help you get plugged in. So we ask that you please use this process. And the first thing that we'd like you to do is to like the Trauma Recovery University page, send us a friend request, both of us. because we're in 2 different time zones and 2 different schedules, and one of us will be able to get back to you before the other. After one of us has accepted your friend request, send that person a message that says, I'd like to heal in safe community, and we will greet you, we'll talk to you, we might ask you some questions to help make sure that we know that you're safe and not a predator, and then we will welcome you into one of our safe, supported, secret Facebook groups on Facebook. There we go. In case you were doubting, it's Facebook twice. And that's it. That's all we have.
Awesome. I was just saying goodbye to everybody, and everybody's wishing you a great vacation, Bobby. And Simi wanted to remind us to remind all of you that we are still looking for drawings of butterflies. We, as a fundraiser for the No More Shame Project, are going to we're going to self-publish an adult coloring book, and the theme is butterflies. We already have 17 submissions, and if you would like to, whatever your favorite medium of drawing is, if it's painting, it just needs to be black and white, and you can email Simi for all of the details and the resolution and all the stuff that it needs to be. She also is accepting submissions in the mail, in snail mail, if you don't want to email it to her. But if you want to draw or you want to make something on the computer, as long as it's black and white, she can give you all the details on that. And her email address is wavemistress@gmail.com. Or you can find her on Twitter @wavemistress. And we're looking to publish that, and the funds that are raised from selling that adult coloring book will help us put on more conferences, just like the one this coming November, our very first International Trauma Recovery University live conference, where adult survivors of childhood abuse from all over the world will be gathering with helping professionals as well in Orlando, Florida, at the beautiful Lake Buena Vista Orlando Resort. So you can find information on that conference, and you can actually win a virtual ticket to that conference. If you want to subscribe to Surviving My Past, Matt from Surviving My Past is actually sponsoring a person who wants to attend virtually, who cannot attend live. And the way that you win that ticket, you get to be put into a drawing to win that ticket. And the way you get put into the drawing to win that ticket is by subscribing to his blog, which is at survivingmypast.net, and then leaving a comment on one of his blogs. So just mention the contest in your comment on the blog. And if you subscribe to the blog and comment on his blog, he is going to randomly draw someone and purchase a live stream ticket for someone to attend this year's Trauma Recovery University live conference. So thank you for sponsoring that person's attendance, Matt from Surviving My Past. That's very generous of you. And again, that's survivingmypast.net. And you can find out more information on the conference by going to traumarecoveryuniversitylive.com. So thank you for attending tonight, discussing this very difficult topic of healing from multiple abusers in childhood. Bobby, did you have anything that you wanted to share with everyone before we say goodbye?
Thank you for being here, and it's always our honor to have you with us, and we're very grateful that you would share an hour or an hour and a half of your day with us.
That was Siri telling you.
Siri interrupting.
Yes, Siri was saying thank you for being here, everyone. She's really excited that you're here. So this is live. So I just want to echo what Bobby has said and what we tell you guys every week. You are the reason that we get to do what we love for a living, and you're the reason we show up here every single week. So thank you for being the most important part of this survivor community, and you are the reason this community is so healing and beautiful, just by showing up here and being authentic and real and supporting one another. So thank you so much for the honor of being here with you. And I'm Athena Moberg, and this is Bobby Parrish, and we love bringing you everything you need for healthy, informed trauma recovery. We'll see you next week on the topic of minimization and how to not minimize our abuse and how to not minimize our progress in our recovery. And we'll see you in November at Trauma Recovery University Live on November 11th through the 13th.
Of course.
Of course. Siri says of course. Aloha, everyone.